As the light found its way, December 24th, Christmas. Morning broke slowly over the valley of the stars. The first ray of sunlight slides down the mountainside and touches the snow, which began to shimmer like 1,000 tiny diamonds. The silence was no longer heavy. It hummed softly, as though the world itself was waking from a long dream. Miss Sofie opened her eyes. She was curled up between Wimsey and Eddie de Glimt, close to the little fire that was no long only glowing embers. The long night was over. She rose, shook the snow from her fur, and immediately felt it, a warmth in her chest that did not come from the fire, but from within. The key shimmered against her fur, so thin now that it was nearly transparent. Wimsey yawned. Is it morning? Miss Sofie smiled. It's Christmas. They turned toward the pillar of ice. The sunlight touched it, and for a moment the heart of Christmas shone like gold behind glass. But the ice still held firm. It's time, said Miss Sofie. She took the key in her paw. It was cold, yet alive, as if it was still breathing. She placed it against the ice. A light spread from her paw, growing and curling like flames from a living fire. The ice began to melt, not into water, but into light, reclaiming its form. The heart of Christmas awakened. Light poured out across the valley, over the mountains, through the forest, and up toward the heavens. The snow transformed into stardust, and the birds began to sing, not their usual song, but the old melody from the starry forest. Wimsey began to cry without knowing why. It's so beautiful, she whispered. And Eddie de Glimt looked at Miss Sofie. You did it. Miss Sofie stood in the center of the light, and for a moment it felt as though everything stood still, even time itself. She heard a voice, clear and gentle, like frost shining in sunlight. When the light returns home, do not look for me, for I live within you. She knew that voice. Wilma, her grandmother, her old, old grandmother. The key melted in her paw, but instead of vanishing, it slides into her chest, becoming one with her heart. A warm radiance spread through her body, and Miss Sofie smiled through tears. Goodbye, my dear old grandmother, she whispered. I understand now. The light began to fade, slowly and softly. The tree stood in the snow as the world found its rhythm again. Not as before, but renewed. The sky was clear. The sun shone high, yet the air still carried a promise. They returned to the house on the hill. The fireplace burned quietly, and the scent of pine filled the room. Wimsey set the kettle on for tea, and Eddie de Glimt stretches out by the fire. Miss Sofie climbed into her little grey doughnut. She looked at the cushions where the key had once rested, and there, in the soft curve, now lay a small glass heart, not cold like ice, but warm as sunshine. A soft clink echoed, and a letter fell gently down the chimney. The paper was golden, sealed with a woven Christmas heart. Miss Sofie untied the ribbon and read, "Dear Sophie, you have found the key to everything, to love, hope, and courage. The light now lives within you. Merry Christmas, my little star. Wilma." Miss Sofie smiled softly. She placed the letter beside the glass heart, curled up tighter in her donut, and closed her eyes. Outside drifted the snow quietly over the valley of the stars. In the windows, reflections, a new star gleamed in the sky, brighter than all the rest, as if it were winking just at her. Whimsy whispered, "Do you think she's asleep?" Eddie the Glimt nodded. "No, she's just dreaming on." The fire crackled, the snow danced, and over the valley the stars lit one by one. For the firelight had come home. Merry Christmas and positive thoughts from me, Miss Sofie, curled up in my little grey donut, still dreaming on, and my mom, Anella. Merry Christmas. See you next year.